Hey, welcome back to the little old ACO channel. And the title of today, or this evening's little episode, is Agabus the prophet who warned of a famine, which Acts 11:28 says showed up under the reign of Claudius. Anyway, so what I wanted to do is share with you what David Devine has to say about these things, because he is not your normal prophet, like I got a vision from God. You see those kind of things all over the charismatic universe. And yeah, well, but I'm more inclined to believe David Devine than those charismatics. And this guy didn't give a fig about religious and visions and whatever. This guy is a great student of weather cycles and mixing in a bit of geopolitics, and not just weather cycles. Thank you, Krishna. Not just weather cycles, but like the solar cycles, going back thousands of years. What happened when the sun cools off? Because the sun does go through cycles. It gets a little hot, it cools down. There's an 11-year cycle. There's a 200-year cycle, 400-year cycle, I think even a 2,000-year cycle with the sun. And Devine has been saying that we are headed into a miniature ice age. So he's got a good little episode today. It's only a few minutes long. I thought you'd get a kick out of it, maybe even do things to prepare. And anyway, on with the show. I'm going to unplug my mic so you can. Oh, hang on. I got to set up the sound so it'll be better for you, because somehow sound is important. Okay, I got the battery in. Hang on, let's see what we got here. Back it up just a tad.
Crypto madness going on. And click on that link in the description box below. And now on with the video.
Okay, again, this is Andy Devine. His channel is called Adapt 2030. And he, does a good job of aggregating a bunch of news information that you wouldn't normally hear. Okay. All right, onward.
And with all the crypto madness
by the way, let me
going
know the sound is
on,
okay. Sound be
let's
good.
talk about scam coins for a second. $27 trillion in circulation, unlimited supply cap, only one node, 25% of all the supply has been minted, and we'll change that to the last 8 months. And 1% of the holders of this scam coin own 30% of the value. That's the US dollar. Maybe this cartoon, that's all, folks, will put it in perspective. The collapse has begun. The transition is now. So maybe you want to think about converting your trampoline into a chicken coop. You're going to need eggs and protein as we move through this food insecure time. Now, I'm going to drop you back a mere month, which seems like years now ago. Top aides in Russia predicting global famine because of what's happening with the non-planting of wheat, the non-production and shipping of oils and grains out of the Black Sea region. Quote, a global famine that will occur closer to autumn by the end of this year around the world because of the interference of grain deliveries, pesticides, herbicides, and fertilizers coming out of Russia. This dude's crystal ball seems to be crystal clear. Timeline intact. This is before what we're seeing in these empty stores again and again. It's going to continue. But just an early warning for this one right here. These implements that you'll need to grow food coming up in the spring of next year after the entire planet gets spooked and people don't have enough to eat, there'll be zero on this shelf. You might want to go get something now to be able to at least tend to your own gardens moving forward. And here's a shocker for me. Sri Lanka gives public workers an extra day off to grow food. So at least for the next 3 months, because of fuel shortages, commuting difficulties, massive food inflation, as well as complete inavailability and rationing, they're moving to let people grow their own food. Now, if you don't see all the signs lining up right now, I'm hoping that this video will do for you or to show some of your family members really what's happening. Availability and rationing, they're moving to let people grow their own food.
I'm screwed up here. Hang on.
Now, if you don't see all the signs lining up right now, I'm hoping that
I was screwing around and the video snagged, so hang on. Let me reset it.
that this video will do for you or
there we go.
To show some of your family members really what's happening. All these things happening in conjunction right now, it's not a coincidence. It's a planned collapse. And we're starting to see the all-time highest wipeout in valuations across the crypto space as well as going into the S&P 500. This is the beginning of the storm that's here to reset everything. So when the Great Reset was talked about, this is the beginning point. When countries are starting to send their people home to grow food, that should be a huge wake-up call. It might not happen in America at this moment, but how many other 100 countries that rely on imports that are very similar to Sri Lanka, that don't have an enormous amount of natural resources, that rely on US dollars as their reserve to be able to purchase assets globally and have them imported to the country? They don't produce that much of their own fertilizer. These smaller nations that are relying on so many other nations, it's going to be a rinse and repeat. So what point and what number of country will it be that sends their people home to grow food and calls days off from work to save fuel? Does it take before family members or the community or countries at large wake up and say we have a huge problem here? It's not going to alleviate itself. The planting progress, The crop reports are dismal already. It's going to take down North American production, Asian production, and European production declining, in addition to what's not going to be exported out of all these nations we've seen in the last 2 months. It is the perfect storm, truly, for humanity to be put in a state of fear that has not been experienced, and that vibration going out into the connected ether, for a better term. It's a once in a 2,000-year event of vibratory pattern change. Imagine what that will attract like locusts. And speaking of things that feed, here we go. KFC swapping lettuce for cabbage. Lettuce is too expensive. We're coming into lettuce shortages. In yesterday's video, the $11.99 Australian one head of iceberg lettuce. Companies are going to cut costs. They're moving to cabbage. So again, another check the box of, wow, that's strange. Maybe it's a problem with the food supply. But after yesterday's video, I did reference Walmart losing many of their freezers twice, where they lost most of the food stuff stocked in there. It was ice creams and those kind of frozen foods, because they couldn't move it back to the main cooler fast enough. And look at these comments that came in after presenting that video.
All right, because you can't read the comments, I'll read them to you. The first comment said, 2 days ago, Walmart lost power to some freezers or coolers. I work at Winn-Dixie, and we got the business. Can you please look into this? I have a feeling this cooler situation happened in multiple Walmarts. The next guy says, I've been in multiple Walmarts here in Idaho over the last couple of weeks. I've seen a few with freezers down and empty. Also noticing a lot of stuff not available, like peanut butter. Needless to say, things are serious when I discover that. LOL. And the next guy says, I stopped at 2 different Walmarts and stores to certify. I stopped at 2 different Walmart stores in Central Florida. Both have freezer issues. I assume it was a way of disguising stock shortages. And the final comment says, my favorite grocery store advised me yesterday that there will be no fresh produce in their stores this coming winter. Propane companies started giving customers formal notice that last week that they cannot guarantee deliveries for home heating this coming winter and this coming fall and winter from Eastern Ontario.
It's happening again and again in multiple places from multiple states. Interesting that is the ploy now to explain away the food shortages. Oh, the freezers are broken. Now that is a great excuse. I accept that wholeheartedly. Oh, the freezers are broken. Okay. Yeah, there's going to be no ice cream, no frozen foods. Well, it makes sense. Oh, they lost it. He couldn't get it back. I accept that as an answer. I wouldn't even question that. And I didn't. And I'd still am just at the borderline, should I? But here, Rob, at the bottom, my favorite grocery store advised me yesterday there'll be no fresh produce in their store in the winter. And propane companies in Eastern Ontario are now saying that they cannot guarantee deliveries for home heating this coming fall and winter. That is the downfall of the society. If you can't keep your homes warm, then what? So if we're going to repeat chapters of history, let's take a page, literally page 29, out of the crisis of 1789 in France. The monarchical experiment. I want to read this to you. It is so succinct and overlapping of what is happening today. I do believe we're at this point of 1788 right now. So underlined in red and circled, the wheat crop was damaged and incredibly poor. 1788. We're experiencing the same thing now. Global wheat shortages, terrible planting conditions, fertilizer debacle that's going to lower yields. And it was such an indispensable part of French culture and the food of the people, the staff of life, that once the word came in that they were unable to get everything through the winter and in the spring of 1788 and the spring of 1789, by the summer of 1789, massive shortages everywhere. And what happened? Well, the prices ran up to be unaffordable for all. Government response, last paragraph. There arrived some 18 to 20,000 men, soldiers, quell the unrest in Paris. Was that Bastille? Ever heard of the Bastille Day? This was the beginning of it. So I believe that this is our 1788, and next summer will be our summer of 1789. Now, the only difference is wheat was such the integral part of the society that caused the tipping point. So, what is it, our tipping point today? Will it be gasoline, or will it be food, not particularly wheat, but food in general? Because if you're looking at one thing that weaves our society together, it's pretty much the fuel. I think that it might be the fuel this time versus the wheat of the French 1789 experiment. So, with all good deflections, you're going to look for more and more of these insect protein articles coming in. Welsh schools feeding primary students insects to determine their appetite for alternative protein, the likes, the dislikes, the acceptability of that. So, starting at that early age, it's just normalizing it. Now look at the insect bar over there, better bar, the insect proteins, and then schools in the UK are now going to use locust and mealworms to make the UK greener. I am waiting for the Queen and the royal family to dine first on this, and then the rest of us should follow. Not the other way around. Don't give it to primary school kids first and make them eat it. Royal family first. Because the storm is upon us, and we're right about there. It is hitting in a blink of an eye. We lived these chapters in history before, and we know that the youth still contain the imagination to bring us through to the next world. This is a nice sidewalk painting. Still gives you some hope and a glimmer of hope that something can be reborn out of this chaos and this destruction that is happening right now and about to amplify. So, my friends, we're going to have to hang on through this transition from one world to another. At what point do you let go and drop one of the worlds? So I think through the next 6 to 12 months of what's going to happen to our planet was already summarized here by the Verve. You got to tie yourself to the mast, my friend, and the storm will end, because that's where we're heading. We're going to have to ride this hurricane out. And I do believe the energetic changes are on humanity's side. There might be a lot of darkness swirling, but light always penetrates darkness. And if you like this kind of content, please jump over to Telegram at Adapt 2030. Join me over there, putting the call to action out here. I want to grow this so I can share different ways to prepare foods, store foods, grow foods, and then you can have a community to be able to talk to each other as well on the Adapt 2030 group and channel, both. T.
Well, there you go. Okay, switching over to the headset now. Give me a sound check, another sound check. Okay, that's all I got. It's just a bunch of obvious crap. That is, it's obvious if you're paying attention. Sound check, please. Sound check, please. Sound check, please. Whether you trust God by growing food or trust Him by not growing, either way, I believe He'll make you willing to do whatever you end up doing. That's good. Yeah, so let's see. The latest news. Oh, yeah, the crypto market is going to hell in a handbasket. Oh, it might recover. But, if some people lost a lot of money a lot of their wealth, a lot of their future hope, because the crypto market crash, that's going to have a tumbling effect, you know? You knock over one domino and a bunch of others fall too. And I told you guys last week about the real estate broker who some 3 weeks before only had 75 listings, but magically everybody wants to sell their house all at once. He got, within 3 weeks' time, over 400 listings. what? Why are these people all trying to sell at once? Interest rates just a little while ago were 3%, and now they've doubled. They're at 6%. I'd say that's headed in the right direction, but it's going to scare the crap out of a lot of people. We've been through high interest rates before, and Paul Volcker brought it in to where interest rates in the 80s were about 20%. At the time, that scared me. I didn't understand how the world worked. But now I look back on history and I can see that Paul Volcker was kind of a savior. By jacking up interest rates to 20%, he actually saved the dollar anyway, and saved the economy as we know it. And it's when interest rates are high. Here's one thing that happens: money becomes hard. They don't give it away so easy. We've had recent history where they were giving loans out to anybody who could fog a mirror. But as interest rates climb, credit will become more difficult to acquire, and money will turn to hard money. And this is actually a good thing. It sounds scary, but when credit is difficult to acquire, only the best ideas get funded. But when credit is real easy and they give money out to anybody who can fog a mirror, well, they fund a lot of bad businesses because credit is easy. But when credit is hard, they'll only fund the best businesses, the ones that make sense, the ones that actually make money, because they don't have the room to gamble on foo-foo stuff. Like that. I think just like 8 years ago, I remember seeing that somebody was trying to create a franchise for cupcakes, some type of cupcake franchise. Yeah, let's fund that. Anyway, so go ahead and start buying seeds now, as much as you can. Just that won't cost you much, but it is an investment in the future. You can get $20 worth of seeds, $100 worth of seeds. They don't go bad that fast. Keep them in a cool, dry place, and they'll last for years. And just in case you need it, then you can start growing. And don't think that growing is a piece of cake. It takes a bit of experimentation and learning, getting to know your weather patterns and your soil and and the squirrels and stuff that will eat your crops. You got to learn how to deal with all that stuff. Because you stick a seed in the ground and a plant grows, but there's 100 or more reasons why it's going to disappear in the night. Too much water, not enough water, too much sun, not enough sun, snails, squirrels, birds, neighbors. Oh yeah, neighbors can be a situation when growing. The city government. But the most important thing to know about growing is that the soil is the secret. The soil is the secret, and the way to have good soil, there's a difference between dirt and soil. Okay? Dirt is just lifeless sand and grit and rock. Soil has life in it. And so to improve the soil, you start piling stuff up like straw and kitchen vegetables, um, leaves, and the best soils are out in the forest. No plows ever get there. No farmer with a tractor ever goes into the forest. And what do they have there? They just have constant year after year of leaves dropping and limbs dropping. And all that stuff turns into good soil. So you can speed up the process of getting your soil together by, every time you see a tree trimmer truck that has a hell of a lot of wood chips, tell them to dump it off at your yard and start putting those wood chips into use, because they do break down. They might need a little help to speed them up, like nitrogen that you might find in pee, so pee on it if you can. But there's nitrogen in the atmosphere. I think our atmosphere is made up of, 70% nitrogen? So it will break down. And the 5 elements of good farming or good soil health is, let's see, number 1, disturb the soil as little as possible. Number 2, always keep something growing there, even if it's a weed, because the plants steal energy out of the sun and put it into the soil through exudates, sugars and proteins, and the soil microbial life needs to eat those sugars and proteins, earthworms, nematodes, all those things. So always keep something growing there if you can. Number 3, keep a variety of things growing there. Number 4, don't leave the soil uncovered. If you harvest everything, cover the soil over with straw, leaves, cardboard, tarp, anything to keep the sun from baking it and to keep the ice and snow from freezing it. It'll help the microbial life in there to stay alive. Put a blanket of leaves on them to keep them warm for the winter, and they'll be more active during the winter, even under a foot of snow, 5 foot of snow. If you put a blanket of leaves under there, there'll be activity going on in the soil life. And then number 5 would be good soil life needs some type of animal input. Animal poop, animal pee, animal scratching around. Some type of animal input tends to make for good soil. And come on in if you want to talk about these things, and we'll spend a few minutes together before I have to scoot out of here. I'm reliant on the one living God, not cryptocurrency, gold, stock market, or anything of this world. He is the ultimate investment. Amen. Yeah, so Dale had a problem with animals eating some of his plantings. So one way to deal with that is to feed the animals. Grow some extra stuff so they can eat it. If water is an issue, how do you deal with the water? Did you get too much rain? Well, maybe you need a raised bed so the rain can drain off. If you don't get a lot of rain, maybe you need a sunken garden bed so the rain can drain off into the garden bed. Hello, God is one. Don't tell anybody.
I'm so happy. Keep it a secret. Don't tell anybody. Don't tell anybody.
Don't we have a great God?
Yes, we do. Yes. Off the chart.
Off the charts. He's the reconciler of the universe.
I'm so grateful.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. Oh, I'm overjoyed. I'm just overwhelmed, awestruck, overjoyed at the love that He has for His creation.
Hmm.
He loves us all more than we can possibly dream of.
Right, right.
We're, we're just beginning to understand.
Well, to show you the providence of God. Don't you love that word? I don't think it's in the Bible, but I still love it. To show you the providence of God. These guys invest in the stock market and in the crypto market, and they hope to get a 10% return or 20% return. But if you take a little tiny seed and plant it like a corn, you get 1,000 little corns, right? That's a damn good investment. And what did it cost you? Dirt and sun and water.
Yeah. Well, now we're having to deal with Monsanto,
I
and a lot of
know.
the seeds.
They're persnickety, aren't they?
Oh, they're very, very persnickety.
Look, more on the close to the evil category. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. As I was trying to tell Dale in the side chat, he's got trouble with the animals eating what he's trying to plant, what he's doing. What I did and still do sometimes, uh, I'll go buy cracked corn or cheap bird food with cracked corn in it and feed them on the side,
Hmm.
and they'll pretty much leave you alone. It's like flies, for instance. You go outside and everybody's bothered with flies and they're so
Yeah.
frustrated. Well, I done found out if you make a plate for them and set it off to the side and bless them and tell them that's theirs over there, they'll pretty much leave you alone.
That's great.
It works.
Hmm.
It definitely works. There are shamans with Inuk, the Eskimo Inuk, that they save their fish and hang it up for their food for the winter when the fish are in season.
Right.
Well, the flies come in and lay their eggs on it, and they start to hatch and turn into maggots.
Yeah.
The shamans are so aware of what is available to us that they can be 100 miles away from another tribe and bless that fish that they're drying, and all the maggots will die and drop off of it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. Very few people are actually aware of the abilities that we do have.
Hmm.
There are many people that show that, who present that abilities in different ways, but we're not told anything about that in our education, in our system. They don't want us to know that we can do that. I've seen pictures a long time ago doing research. There were 4 Indians in a tribe in Mexico.
Hmm.
There were 4 of the elders were standing underneath this boulder that had to weigh 20, 30 tons, and they were holding it up on a fingertip of each of them, of the 4 men, with one finger each for removing that boulder. We've got the same stories of the monks in Himalayas, or where that is up there. I forget, the word doesn't get to me, but they could lift stones and set them on the side of the mountain by sound, by all of them singing certain frequencies. They could levitate stone and put it where they wanted it.
Hmm.
So
Well,
there's a lot of.
I once
Go
heard
ahead,
of
Abe.
I once heard of 10 monkeys that were sleeping on a bed, and the little one said, "Roll over, roll over." So they all rolled over, and one fell out.
Then there was more room.
Yeah. Oh, and one more thing for Dale. You can go over to the Dollar Tree store, and buy these wire baskets and put those over your plants until they get
Yeah.
big enough to not be of interest to the animals. And if you don't want to buy that, then go get some chicken wire and make the baskets yourself. Where there's a will, there's a way.
Most of the time.
Most of the time.
Most things are very simple, but our society has a tendency to make it very complicated and hard, so we're dependent on them.
Yeah.
All that's falling apart now. We have multiple things going on around the world. Floods all over the place, earthquakes erupting, volcanoes erupting. We have many things that are going on. Even right here, I was looking at a video earlier. Lake Mead's drying up to the point they're about to shut down Arizona.
I know. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, yeah,
I mean, just a few more feet and they'll turn the
yeah,
electricity off. They won't have any choice but to turn the
yeah,
electricity off to Las Vegas and
yeah.
surrounding
And
areas.
and the water. They're going to shut down the power and the water. That's going to be a hoot. And the
Okay,
way it's going, go ahead. Dave.
just for your farming edification, here's a really good link. This is Bob Kennard. The video is called Slow Food Farming. And he has got some wild and crazy ideas about farming, and it's just a delight to watch it. It's about an hour long.
Okay.
And and he says that when he goes out hunting, he actually hunts for deer poop.
Yeah.
And turkey poop, and he brings that poop back and makes a tea out of it. So, and he can tell when a plant looks sick, he can tell whether it needs deer poop tea or chicken poop tea or horse poop tea, or and he gives it the
Yeah.
tea, and within 1 day the plant is beautiful and healthy again. That's how good a farmer he is. So that's a very good video, and just give you a new way to think about things. He's pretty famous in the farming community, real serious farmers, but they still call him crazy. He's got crazy ideas. Oh, here's a crazy idea. He doesn't pull any weeds. He lets his carrots and stuff grow in among the weeds, and when he goes to find the carrots, he separates it like that, to pull the weeds back. Oh, there's my carrots. There, I found them. He lets everything.
Well, you can get away with that further up north than where I am. Down here, if you don't keep the weeds thinned out, you won't have anything left.
Right. So there's no one size fits all, but I'm just showing you that
Right.
he's a very entertaining speaker about the way nature works
Well,
with you.
I like learning. Yeah, I like that. I've been doing the garden thing most of my life. I haven't done it since I got West Nile disease because I wasn't able. Then I got cancer right after that, and I wasn't able. So now I've gotten to the age and I don't have a place because I lost my place that I was at because of all that and other things and whatever. But I miss my garden more than just about anything that I like to do, other than fish. But I was growing just about anything you could name. Right now, the people down here that are farming, that are gardening here, and I grew up with a lot of them. A lot of the crops are not growing. The tomato crop down here, they won't do anything to really produce anything of any value for the last few years.
What's
And it's
going on?
progressively.
What's going on?
I don't know for sure. A lot of it, I think, is to do with us being sprayed by the chemtrails. A lot of places
Probably, yeah.
they're experiencing worldwide. We're experiencing aluminum poisoning in the soil down to the point we're losing whole forests right now. The entire forest, not just a few
Right.
trees, but the whole daggum thing.
Man.
So a lot of that's going on. The yield on what people are getting now is very minimal compared to what it used to be or what it should be.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of that goes back to Monsanto too. They're genetically engineering the seed so that they keep control.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Yeah, they're gonna control themselves into hell. That's for sure. There's only
well, we're in the,
so many people they can starve. Oh, that's Bill Gates' new hunger plan.
yeah.
To save the hungry people, just starve them all out. Then you won't have any more hungry people.
Well, Bill Gates owns almost all the farming property now. He's bought it all up. They're running the farmers into bankruptcy, and he's buying up all the land.
Right. Well, He's these the dark elite, the dark overlords of the universe. You know, they need kitchen help. They better be careful.
They're in for a big surprise.
Hmm.
They're doing everything in their power to keep us subdued and controlled, but it's not in their hands. It's not in ours either. It's in God's hands. He's the one doing all this.
Hmm.
And He's going to make sure it gets finished. It's Him doing it. Since God has won, don't tell anybody. No, don't tell anybody God's winning.
Your secret is safe with me. God is one.
The secrets are now being revealed.
Yeah.
They're being revealed through us. Look at what Paul is saying. All of God's multifarious wisdom is being revealed to the celestials through His body, through the ecclesia. That would be us. We're the first to know the secret, the first to be shown the secrets,
Yeah.
and we're going to tell. We're going to tell all of creation. That's what we were called to do. It's already begun. I'm enjoying the journey now.
Hey, I'm really tickled that you exited stage right when the opposers were giving you some shit earlier today.
Ace, I will tolerate pretty much anything, but when someone raises their voice to me in that tone of voice,
Right.
I'm done.
That's good.
I'll be,
I'm pleased, and I honor you. I want you on the channel more than them, but it was a great demonstration of. I've had it up to here. Thank you. I'm out of here.
well,
Oppose.
Tommy's was being gracious when he said an hour. Some people I can't tolerate more than a few minutes.
Hmm.
Uh, I was raised by 5 stepfathers. My real father, well, I wouldn't even talk about him. And then I've spent most of my life in and out of different bars dealing with different people because of that. And a lot of that interaction was, just say, very enlightening to the attributes of humanity.
Hmm.
So I try to understand, I do understand why it's that way, but I don't want to participate with that very much because I'm looking for something that's a whole lot better. I'm striving to be reaching for that which has touched me, like Paul says. I'm trying to reach back and touch that which has touched me. If I'm
Hmm.
around someone that's in darkness, then that doesn't work, and they're influencing the people that are around me as well. I'm better off to leave.
Yeah. Well, I couldn't easily leave. I had to host the damn show and eventually kick them out. And boy, they were pissed when I kicked them out.
Well, you can't do anything you want to do without repercussions. Everything we do has a consequence.
Hmm.
If they want to be disruptive and immature, then, well, I mean, I'm part Indian. I'm quarter Indian. A lot of my heritage that I've found out about is their children, when they would misbehave and they didn't punish them like whipping them like we do, they would just ignore them like they didn't exist until they straightened up. Then we don't have nothing to do with you. Go away. So I guess it's a family tradition.
Right.
That's what Paul would do too. They wanted to be stubborn. He would shake the dust off his sandals and move along. But I still love them regardless. That's a given. That's a definite article all the time because God blinded them for a reason. They were blinded so that we could become strong to be our part, and without their part being who they are, that wouldn't happen the way it's supposed to. When we see that God is one and all is of Him, then we begin to see how the whole story connects together without being isolated in a single part of the story. We begin to understand that all has its cohesion in Him. And when we see that, we really begin to understand the word all. If all is out of Him, through Him, and for Him, I think any choice that anyone makes is him. He's already made the choice. We came here to find out why he made the choice. It's not me saying that I came here to find out why I made the choice. It's him, because we are literally part of him. So he came here to find out why he made the choice. He wanted to experience it.
Mm-hmm.
He wanted. It's the same thing in the Matrix. What he already made the choice. Love. He was gonna. It was put in a metaphor of a relationship between a man and a woman. But it's the same thing with us all. Without the gender, there's no gender now. There's no man, no woman, no slave, no free, no Jew, no Greek, nations or whatever. It doesn't matter. To him, it's all one. God is one. To be loving
Just
everything is one.
a little housekeeping here. Krishna, the capital of Montana is called Helena, Montana. And so you could probably make a lot of money there if you go to Helena and create a handbasket store and call it Helena Handbasket. Sorry.
Well, I could send you a picture of a place I think it's in Arkansas. It's a candy store, a fudge factory. It's called Uranus Fudge Factory.
Hey, Sterling, what do you got on this verse here? This half of a verse. In accord with the operation which enables him even to subject all to himself. Isn't that delightful?
Yes, it is.
All is of God.
Yeah.
And
All is of God.
all these free willers will find themselves subjected to him, whether they like it or not. They can stomp their foot all they want.
Yeah.
It's a complete
Yeah.
operation.
Yes, it is. It's a done deal. Game over. We who have been called first are coming into a full realization of our part in it at this time. We're waiting for him to come and take us out of here. We were given an earnest, a down payment. I'm pursuing to fulfill that earnest as much as possible. For quite a few years now, I've kept asking myself the question, we've been given an earnest. What are the limitations of that earnest? I've always wanted to know, what are the limitations of that earnest? I want to know. So I think we're fulfilling that. I think that the body is upbuilding itself and he's finished. It's being completed. And the complement is being completed. That's what we're waiting for him to return, for the complement to be completed. The complement means how many of us were called or chosen
Right.
in him. When that number is fulfilled and the last one realizes that they're of him, see, we no longer know of God. We no longer know of Christ. We know them personally because we've come into a realization that we're literally part of the same.
Mm-hmm.
But that was blinded. We were blinded to that. Now he's taking the blinders off.
You delight me.
My Father, our Father, delights me. In him I delight to dwell. I delight to dwell in him.
Amen. I'm still here. I just have to close the door. It's getting cold here. Dang, global warming just ain't working for me.
Well, I'm catching the other end of it. I'm sitting here running my generator. I haven't had my power got turned off this afternoon. Not that I didn't pay the bill. I'm in a motorhome park. Last week, the distribution panel for the power melted down, and I've been running off the neighbors that wasn't here for the last few days. And she came back today, so they had to unplug me. So I'm still in a place with no power where I'm at. So now I've got to move my bus up to another lot because they say it could take up to a month for them to restore the power because of
Good
all the
golly, Miss
political
Molly.
garbage. Yeah, if they just turn the power off, I could fix it by myself in a day. But they're saying, oh, it's going to take a month. I'm going, okay, well, we're talking. So we got a whole bunch of folks chasing that quarter.
Yeah. Oh, and by the way, I don't think I'll be doing any shows tomorrow because my power will be off. They're doing a neighborhood refurbish or something like that.
I'm going to be spending all day tomorrow preparing my bus to get to move it. It takes 2 days worth of work just to put everything up, fold up the awnings, to do all the stuff just to move this thing is 2 days worth of work. So I'm in the middle of doing that. I started that this afternoon, and I got better than half the inside ready to move, and I haven't started on the outside. I'm going to do what I can in the morning, and hopefully I don't overheat at 67 years old and 112-degree heat index.
Whoa.
So we'll see how that goes. But that's what's going on in my world. But I'm happy about that too. God's got a reason for it. It's all good. Maybe I'm supposed to talk to a new neighbor. The two that I've had have been rather depressing. So hopefully God's going to put me in a place where I can actually have a conversation with my neighbor.
Well.
That'll be different.
Mm-hmm.
I've got the one that just moved back. She had stents put in her heart almost 3 weeks ago. She's been staying with her son, I believe. But she's a whiner and a complainer. She about 2 years ago, she had a little fall and said she hurt her back. And I believe she did, but not like what she said. But I've heard about how bad her fall was and how bad her back was at least 500 or 600 times while I'm watching her when she thinks no one's watching dance around like a little girl. I'm going, oh, yeah, right. She's really hurt.
Wow.
But when she thinks that somebody's watching, oh my, I'm hurting so bad.
Oh. Would you call that sympathy farming?
Yeah, I would think so. A lot of acreage too. Anyway, I love them. I love them all. Anyway, God created them to be just the way they're supposed to be. If I went through by going through all this, it's taught me that having a state of mind, that's the only thing it takes to be happy, is to understand the truth, and that changes your state of mind on how you perceive things. It changes the story you tell yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So you can be happy in hell. That's why Paul was so gracious to everyone. He knew the only thing that mattered was loving one another and doing as best you could till it got obnoxious. Then he'd move along and find someone else to start again. Then it would spread. You get one, and that would go to another, and that to another, maybe two from one, and that's the fruit that we're looking at. That's the fruit that's involved in spiritual fruit of bringing one brother, one sister, one other person into the understanding that God is one. Don't tell anybody. God is one.
Yeah.
It's all Him. That's why. That's why Paul could endure it all. He understood the love well enough that love endures all. When he wrote that, he knew what he was saying. He made a wonderful display of doing it too. He became an imitator of Christ, being transfigured into His image, as we are. Those of us who were called, chosen in Him, are being transfigured into His image. We will look exactly like Him because we are Him. We are literally Him, out of Him, through Him, and for Him. There's no other source that makes you part of Him. You came
Yeah.
out of Him, that means you're part of Him. Through Him, you're part of Him. For Him, yeah. That's where we are now. We're beginning to understand more about for. That's our dispensation. What are we disposed to? Are we glorifying Him? Or are we still glorifying the flesh? So it comes down to a question of honesty of self.
Mm-hmm.
So coming into a realization of Him. What that's what that goes into. So that we can have the mind of Christ by seeing that all is of God, and we were chosen in Him as part of Him, His complement. That's a realization and a revelation at the same time. So now, when we get to that point, we can understand why He created all of this. How do you deal with a place of being alone? There's no one there but you. So He took Himself and split it all apart, created us, blinded us, so that we could have this experience of exploring and finding the depths of love again, the height and the width and the breadth, so that we could go back to the love of Christ, which transcends all knowledge. That's the rejuvenation of the spirit that's happening, the rejuvenation of love itself in a place that's infinite. And what do you do with that time?
Amen.
Uh, yeah, I pray for us every day that every member of the body come into a realization of this so that we can be complete and be fulfilled. See, even Christ isn't complete yet till we are. The entire creation is groaning and travailing and waiting for this to happen. I'm using my will to try to request from Him, may I be allowed to invoke this? Because I don't want to step on nobody's foot while I'm trying to dance, learn to dance. Everything's a metaphor. God, Word, and Spirit aren't. Everything else is.
Yeah.
All is of Him. All is of God.
And through Him and for
Yeah,
Him.
yeah. Amen. Learning to rejoice in that place. A state of mind. A state of mind. Love endures all.
Okay, I got to get going.
All right, Dave.
So thanks for letting me burn your ear about the importance of growing your own food.
Thumbs up on that. There are people that are going to remain that will be beneficial to.
Yeah.
That's what I'm trying to do now. I've given away quite a bit of stuff in the last 2 weeks. The
Mm.
people that I don't know if they're going to, whatever. Camping gear, survival gear, whatever. I don't need any more. Take it
Yeah.
with you. I'm too old. I'm not going to be running through the woods and digging a hole at my age. Y'all have a great time. I wish you the best. And I tell them the truth, when the shit hits the fan, if I disappear, here's the key. I'm
Right.
gonna leave the key right here. Get everything you can and run for the hills.
Run for the hill, not the hills.
Yeah.
It's
What's
a
the difference?
reference. It's a reference to the hill in the side chat.
Oh, okay, okay.
Because we love our hill.
Yeah. Oh yeah, okay. I got it. Okay.
Okay.
Oh, boy.
Exit stage right. Thanks for joining me, brothers and sisters. Amen.
Thank you, Ace. Grace and peace, everyone.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.